It takes great strength to finally be able to leave a narcissistic relationship. Narcissists need control. This is why they thrive. This is how they thrive. They feel superior when they're in control. And because of the control that they've had over you throughout the relationship, when they start to lose that control, that's when they go batshit crazy. This is the hardest part of trying to leave. Because when they lose control, they will do anything in their power to try and gain that control back, to try and keep that control. I have seen, and I've witnessed, narcissists going completely nuts, doing really evil things to try and pull you back in. So if you can get the strength and the power within yourself to finally be able to break away from a narcissist, there's a few steps that you need to take to completely block them out of your life. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. The narcissist they're ill. They have this disease within their mind and they feel empowered by making you feel small. They will gain control by making you codependent on them. They will make you into a childlike version of yourself so that you can't leave. They will make you feel so unworthy that you can't leave. They will make you believe that no one else will ever love you and that their love is all the love that you'll ever get. So with this, it will make it very difficult to leave. But when you do start to realise that this relationship is toxic, when you do get the courage to end it, to leave, this is going to be the hardest part. Because you're obviously still working on gaining your independence again. Your inner child is still very vulnerable. And that's the thing, like when you're in a narcissistic relationship, when you've been abused that much, verbally or physically, you become so depleted. You become very weak. Your life force is gone. Your energy is gone. Your power is gone. And your confidence is gone. But I believe most narcissistic relationships end a long time before they actually physically end, because it takes a lot of regeneration and building ourselves up again to finally get the power to actually leave the relationship. Like my narcissistic relationship of 8 years, it was over for 2 years before I gained the courage to leave. And it was difficult for me. And this is the thing, right? With a lot of relationships, we have this wound within us. We have this abandonment wound, this rejection wound. So when we do end a relationship, even if it's the right thing to do, even if we're no longer in love with that person, there's this inner child part of us that is craving to be loved, afraid that we'll never find love again, and kind of still wants to latch on. And even if that relationship is abusive, that part of us is still there. And then there's the history. And then you're kind of going, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe it was okay. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I perceived it to be. And then you kind of go back for a little while and then you kind of go, oh shit, they don't change. They're fucking psycho and, they're abusing me again. But the secret to trying to leave the relationship is you need to run away and get out completely. You need to cut ties completely and block them. This is the only way. And I remember before I started to get the courage to block people, I had this part of me that was like, we need to be polite. You need to take abuse. So yeah, it's a weird concept. It was like, I need to be polite, so I can't block this person. We have history together, so I can't block this person. And after my HR narcissistic relationship, he would continue to abuse me. And this is what narcissists do. They will continue the abuse. They will send you messages, they will send you voicemails, and they will try to ring you all the time, trying to get you back, trying to make you feel so small that you run back into their arms. And I know it's a weird concept, but because they had such control of you before, this is how they try to bring you back in. And sometimes this works. This works because we're afraid. We are afraid. Like, I was afraid to block him. My friend said, block his number. I was like, I can't. What would he do? And it was only when I got into another relationship. I got into another relationship way too soon after. But the guy I was with, another unhealthy relationship, but he actually got jealous over my ex sending me abuse. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, I'm going to answer the phone. And I was like, you can't answer the phone. You can't answer the phone. I was petrified of my narcissistic ex. And it was only because the new guy I was with answered the phone and told him to fuck off that he actually stopped. But this is the thing with narcissists. They will not stop. They will not stop trying to bombard you with abuse and phone calls if they lose control. They will go full on psycho. And I've seen this years ago. A friend of mine, like, she broke up with her narcissistic ex. He killed her dog. He tried to tamper with her brakes, and he planted drugs in her house and called the guards and got them in trouble. This is the kind of mentality they have. If they can't control you, they will find other ways to try and ruin your life. And that's the scary part of leaving a narcissistic relationship. Do you know what I mean? They go all out batshit fucking crazy. So the only weapon we actually have against narcissists is ignore them. A narcissist feeds off attention. The reason they keep coming back and back, the reason they keep abusing you, the reason they keep trying to gain control again is because they crave attention. We have to stop feeding this need for attention. The biggest weapon we have against narcissists is ignoring them. If we ignore them, they will eventually stop. And I've seen this with other people as well. I was like, block them. You have to block their number. You cannot text back. And because we're so vulnerable after a relationship of any kind, we're kind of like, this needy part of us is like, what if no one ever loves me again? We have so much history together. He was nice sometimes. Maybe I'll reply to him. But he will come back again and again with abuse. And I've encouraged friends to block, and clients to block their exes, right? And then after a while, they will unblock, and they will see that he was still bombarding them with abuse, with text messages and phone calls. You know what I mean? Like, I remember another client that I told block his number, and she didn't block him on emails, and then she'd send me the email he sent him of pure abuse. I wouldn't even read that email because I was feeling the energy from this text message. I'm like, how many times? You're upset. You're not blocking his number, and yet you're coming to me upset every time he abuses you. I told you the only way you can get rid of a narcissist is if you ignore them. They're going to keep coming back, and they stalk. I've seen narcissists stalk their exes because they can't get control, and because, this is what happens. The best way for you to actually cut ties with a narcissist is block them completely. And that's what I even did that with my dad when he wouldn't agree to my boundaries. And I won't ever unblock him because I'm afraid of the abusive messages that could be still there. This is what they do. They will keep coming back until you actually gain the power to cut them off completely. It is our woundedness, our inner child, that is crying out for love and validation. This is why we attract narcissists in the first place. So when we do break the tie there, and when we do start to see that it's toxic, it takes an awful lot of strength to finally walk away completely. Like when I broke up with my narcissist ex of 8 years, the last 2 years we fought. It got volatile. It was a lot worse than it ever was. And I was going through a massive trauma at that time, so it was really hard for me, but I was going to therapy at the time, so that was helpful. But I fell out of love with him within those 2 years. So by the time we actually broke up, it was over. And it was really over. But I continued to live with him. The house was big enough, and my new job was up the road. So I continued to live with him and share a car with him, share a house with him for a long time after we actually broke up. And it was only one day that he got completely violent and knocked me onto the ground that I was like, oh shit, I have to get out of here. And I moved back home to my dad. Do you know what I mean? Because the reason he got violent and angry was because he saw me glowing up. He saw me gaining control of my life again. He even turned around one day and he was like, do you fancy a shag? And I just looked at him and I nearly got sick. I flinched. That's how disgusted I was by him. But this is the thing, we don't leave straight away because there's a part of us that still wants it to work out. There's a part of us that still kind of goes, but what if no one ever loves me again? And this is what keeps us kind of going back and forth. This is what keeps us from blocking that number. This is what keeps us reading those messages of abuse. You know what I mean? Like, a narcissist will stop if they don't get attention. This is the secret. They will actually stop eventually. Like, it takes a while and it takes a lot of strength. But if they have no access to you, they cannot regain control. If you continue to reply to the text messages, if you continue to answer the phone calls, they still have control. And one thing they love to do as well is make you feel guilty for leaving them. All this abuse that they're sending you is making you feel guilty for leaving them. Poor me, woe me, I need you. This kind of stuff. So there'll be abuse, but there'll be this kind of love bombing, this kind of like, feel sorry for me, I'm a victim now, you left me, I can't live without you kind of thing. And you continue to read these messages and you will continue to be sucked back into that world. You will continue to still be under their control. This is why it is so important to run the fuck away and cut all ties. Change your fucking number if you have to. This is what I'm saying. Block them, cut them out of your life completely. And if you need to change your number, do that. To gain your strength again after narcissistic control and narcissistic abuse is the most powerful thing you will ever do with your life. To regain your strength, to find yourself again after being so lost in that tight control for so long, losing who you were for so many years, to regain that power again is magical. And when you come back from that, when you regain your independence, you will never allow that treatment again. But you have to break ties. You have to walk away completely. Doesn't matter how long you're with this person. History does not make it okay for a person to abuse you. If you're with that person 8 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever the fuck it is, doesn't matter how long. You put up with toxic abuse for that long. You do not need to put up with that anymore. This person is unhealthy. This person is evil. You owe them fucking nothing. The only person you owe anything to is yourself. So you're not obligated to stay in contact with a person just because you've been in a relationship for a very long time. If they were toxic and abusive, you have every right to cut that person completely out of your life. You really fucking do. Like, I don't know, is it because we were bred to be polite? And I'm all for manners. I'm all for being polite. You know, for a long time, I used to reply to everybody because it was like, you have to be polite. But a lot of the time, their intentions aren't good. And I started to read that and I was like, I don't have to reply to somebody if it doesn't make me feel comfortable. I can block somebody if they make me feel uncomfortable. I have every right to my own privacy. And because we have this history with our exes, we're like, oh, do we need to keep in contact? Should we stay friends? No. When it comes to narcissists, no. These fuckers will always try and keep control, and they will even try and guilt you. And it's like, let's stay friends, let's hang out. I did this for a long time. I was still drinking with my narcissistic ex after we broke up. I was still hanging around him. He still had control until I left. And when I actually finally did move out of that house, and I had to move back with my dad, he continued to bombard me with text messages and phone calls. I didn't answer the phone calls. I stopped answering them after a while. But I still read the messages. They still hurt me. They still had a control of me. Even if I didn't reply to that text message, just reading his text message or seeing a missed call from him, it was still that he had control. It was still that he had some breed of control over me and was able to make me feel like shit. You know, and it took me a long time to realise that you can fucking block it. Don't read the message. If you can't see a message, you cannot feel the energy from it. You're reading this message because you feel obligated to read this message. You feel like you owe them something because you've history together. You feel like you're obligated to answer the phone. But it hurts your soul. You can't move on and you can't heal from this toxicity if you continue to allow it into your life. This is the only weapon we'll ever have against narcissists, is to ignore them. They will continue to retaliate even if you ignore them, but block that fucking number. Change your number. Stop getting sucked back into their world, because this is what they do. They feed off attention. You give them attention, they still have control. You reply, they still have control. Even if you read the messages, they still have control. This is what they do, and this will make you come back to your weak state so that you'll feel all vulnerable again and run back to them. This is what they do. They will bring up stuff, make you feel guilty, so that you'll feel so shitty again that you'll run back to them. They will deplete your self-worth, so you run back to them. They will gain control again, so you run back to them. Run the fuck in the opposite direction. Block that number and ignore them. It's hard. It is so hard, especially when you do have history together, but it's the only weapon you'll ever have. That's it. Just walk away, ignore them, and cut them out of your life completely. We are not obligated to be friends with toxic, evil people just because we were in a relationship with them for a long period of time. This is bullshit. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're fucking crazy, because, my God, to have any kind of toxicity in your life is wrong. You do not owe that person anything. They ruined your life for fucking however length of time. Don't let them continue to ruin your life. If you get your power back, which I hope you do, gain the strength to fucking cut them off. They do not exist. My exes, as far as I'm concerned, do not exist. I've healed from them, and if they ever tried to contact me again, I swear to God, they wouldn't be able to, because even when I had to get a new Facebook page, I fucking looked and I blocked them, because I will never let them have access to me again. I will never see them again, and I will never let them have access to me again. They do not exist. I'm grateful for the lessons, but I do not owe them anything, because they were abusive and they were toxic. You do not need to allow people to remain in your life just because you have history together. You do not have to be polite just because you have history together. You do not have to be friends with somebody who's evil just because you have history together. Cut them off, block them, change your number and walk away. And do not ever unblock them. Do not ever unblock and read the fucking messages, because it will only delay your growth. It will only delay your healing. The only way we can gain our power back is when we cut that control. Cut them out completely. Do not let them regain control over us, because that's what they will do. They do not change. They will continue to try and suck you back in. They will continue to guilt trip you into coming back to them. You owe me. Look what I've done for you for this time. They will just keep coming back. Keep them blocked. Change your fucking number and walk away. This is the only weapon we have against their control. They feed off attention, and if we continue to give it to them, they will continue to have a control on our lives, and we won't have the ability to move away and regain our independence. So if you want to take your power back, cut them off. They do not exist. They will never exist in your future. You do not have to have them in your life just because you have history together. Ignore them, block them, walk away, and regain your power. They do not deserve a spot in your life. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really do hope this resonates. And if it does, please like and share and subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help in your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I would love nothing more than to help you break free from that narcissistic relationship.